two works. So each presentation has about 15 minutes to present his works, and we have 5 minutes to questions, okay? So now I'm going to invite our chair, Professor Junior Barreira.
Good morning. We will begin our section about computer vision and all in sports. The first talk will be given by Carlos Noriega from University of São Paulo. His work is called Development of Avatar for Olympic weightlifting as visual feedback for motor skill acquisition.
Thanks. Well, good morning. My name is Carlos Noriega. I am Professor Arturo Forner Cordero. I presented for you development of Avatar for Olympic weightlifting as visual feedback for motor skill acquisition. I am from the Department of Neuroscience and Behavior of University of São Paulo. I'm a Biomechatronics Laboratory Department of Mechatronics and Mechanical Systems of the Escola Politécnica to University of São Paulo. Well, during the process of acquisition of motor skills, corrected instructions, known as feedback, are provided by experts for athletes. This leads the athletes to an improvement on learning or improvement performance. The purpose of this study was to create an avatar to represent accurately the movement of the hand power snatch, derivatives of the most complex movements, the snatch, in order to be used as visual feedback tool during the acquisition of motor skills. This is the structural presentation, the construction of Avatar. In the first step, we have Olympic weightlifting, specifically the hand power snatch. The second part is about the motor learning, specifically the feedback. And the third part is about computer graphics, specifically the avatar. The sum of all of this is the development of Avatar. Well, the first part is about Olympic weightlifting movement. We have these two movements, the snatch and the clean and jerk. Here is the snatch. The bar is in one only unique movement taken over the floor above the head. The second movement is the clean and jerk. It has two parts, the clean, the bar is on the floor, and in one only unique movement raised over the shoulders. After a break and a very explosive, very intensive movement, the bar is taken over the head. Two of these movements are used by coaches because the development of muscular power in athletes, improved athletic performance, and improved neuromuscular action level. These 3 points are very important in different modalities, specifically the snatch. This is the kinematics of the snatch. Observe exists between the limbs, close relationship. The angles, we have velocity in this part, velocity 2 in this part, velocity 3, velocity 4. And another of that, we have 3 possible trajectories of the bar. Voroviev, 1971, determined 3 trajectories. For all that is the kinematics and kinetics parameters of the Olympic weightlifting, and these skills and abilities on the Olympic lifters. Observe in the first position, the last position, required mechanical parameters on for Olympic weightlifter. Because of that, coach use the hands power snatch, the bars, the gym over the knees, and the final position is called power snatch. When the leg angles more than 19 degrees. The second part is about the process of feedback. What is feedback? Feedback are instructions provided by coach, by experts for the athletes that stipulate the errors in their own performance. Feedback is constantly related with process of learning sport. It's a cycle, a loop. Well, feedback can be intrinsic or extrinsic. Intrinsic is the feedback, the information is captured by our sense, visual information, proprioception information. The extrinsic feedback is the additional or enhanced information. In this point, we have knowledge of results or knowledge of performance, called visual feedback. Knowledge of performance or visual feedback is the best method or method for acquisition of the motor skills, and can be photography, filming, verbal feedback, demonstration videos. In the last point, we propose the use of avatar. This is now the third point. What is avatar? Avatar is a representation of a person created by computational methods. Why use an avatar? Well, several researchers demonstrate in their studies that allows users to communicate non-verbal orders, increasing perception of action, and certain regions of the brain are activated simply by watching the action. This called in 1991 mirror neurons. Excuse me. Different forms of representation of a performance excite the motor programs used in order to imitate the same action. And the last point is the most interesting. Research conducted with anthropomorphic figures whose movements are similar to the human found that there were participants' tendency to dynamically adjust motor behavior with the figure represented. Well, we believe that the use of avatar of Olympic weightlifting representation can be used in the process of acquisition of motor skill for weightlifters. Material methods: participant, one subject, forming Olympic weightlifting champion international. The subject represents all the mechanical parameters we need. Experimental apparatus: 10 infrared camera optic track, or software for optic track body version, 37 reflection markers, a barbell weightlifting, a computer Xeon with 6 cores, 2.1 gigahertz, and 12 gigabytes of RAM, and professional graphics NVIDIA Quadro 2000 with 4 gigabytes of memory. This is the anatomical landmarks protocol for OptiTrack. We use that. And this is a process of avatar creation. This is our participant. The markers is in their body. The second part is capture the movement between the cameras. 2 days were used. 6 records were done and used best 2 of 6. This is the part, the graphic interface or software motif, the creation, capture the movement, create the bar trajectory, create the body of the athlete, the angles are represented. All this is identification and reconstruction of the landmarks. This is the avatar, the preliminary avatar, posteriorly to send to rendering. The process taking 16 hours a day each. Only 3 days. Well, this is the avatar in execution. This is different frames. The avatar comports human movements, represents velocity, coordination, technique, and ballistic movements. We need an arm of weightlifters. This is the avatar. This is a little representation. This is not the final representation. The avatar file is big, very big. Here not. Well, we believe that the use of avatar will collaborate in order to be a tool facilitating the acquisition of motor skills on training. This is the reference to material. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you have questions?
I can speak loud. Carlos, could you go back to your avatar slide? Thank you. That one. So one of the concerns I think weightlifters have is the distance the bar gets away from the body as it travels up the body line. And you have the two angles on your avatar, and it's hard to see how far the bar, do you know what I mean? How far the bar, when it comes over the knees and then up, how far it gets away from the body line? And we can't see that with the avatar. Are you considering that issue?
The distance between the bar and the body really is the gravity line, and was 6 centimeters only. And it's a accept parameter. The total load was 110. 110, yes.
Would it be possible to do the avatar without the plate? To render the avatar without the plate on the bar so you could see the bar moving up the body line?
Yes, but this is another experiment. Here is only the creation of avatar, the computational methods in avatar. The use of it is in another experiment.
Okay, thank you.
Carlos, how you modeled the avatar? I mean, the physical model of the avatar. How you got the model?
The model was created by the motif body. This is a computational system. The landmarks are over the hatred, and the system creates the avatar. There exists a procediment, the calibration, preparation of computers. But it's the system that creates that avatar. The system body is specialized in create avatars.
I would like to complete Leonardo's question. And this software has the physical equations. And you can simulate, in fact, the avatar with the weights that, in fact, a real person would be trying to use. The avatar that you have in the computer, it may be a physical model with physical equations, in such a way that he could simulate with the real weights. Are you doing that or not? It's just a description, a picture, a 3D picture.
Well, the final model is in the laboratory. Not asking, but this another experiment, these other steps. In the first steps is only to create the representation corporal movements of avatar.
Okay, it's just a 3D picture, and you are going to have a physical implementation in the future. Is that you are going to have a kind of robot in the
Where
lab?
no, I don't.
Because, for example, in computer graphics, when you create somebody that is inside there or an equipment, you can put physical properties. You see, they have physical models in such a way that you can predict what will happen with that model.
Yes.
have
We
that.
can do it. This is a optimization model, but in this moment not.
No, it's not an optimization. It's just a physical model. This means that they have mass, they have weight, they have equations that describe that.
Physical model is very difficult because
System
parameters.
of differential equations, where the solution represent the movement of the cartoon that you have created. Okay, maybe you don't have that. Don't worry. Do you have other questions?
Carlos, when you build the model in the software, it's possible to change the body of the athlete. You can
It's possible to change.
change the shape of the body. If I want to simulate a stronger weightlifting,
Yes.
can I create a strong and a weak one and compare the movement?
Yes, it's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible, but we use anthropomorphic human because this reason. The athlete participants tendency to dynamically adjust motor behavior, see, with the figures represented. This is very important in the avatar.
Okay, thank you.
And for the continuity of your study, you will, what are your plans? I mean, you use this to train, in fact, people and analyze if the use of avatar is making a better process of learning. We know this is a complex skill, so.
Yes, it's the next research, a comparative between one group with avatar, visual feedback and avatar, and another group versus another group with video, instructional video.
And in this sense, and following Thiago's question, what is the level of customization the avatar model will allow when you have a group of maybe 10 people training, the avatar will be the same, and how the feedback will be provided for these different people?
There are parameters, specific parameters present to the another research, but not this. Not this.
Thank you very much. Go our next speaker, that is Christoph Weber from the Technical University of Munich. He'll give us a talk about the effects of rule changes in goalball, analyzed by semi-automatic software tools.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christoph.
Hello.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christoph Weber, and I'm from the Technical University of Munich. My talk is about the effects of rule changes in goalball. I'm not sure if everyone in this building is familiar with goalball. Actually, the Brazilian men team is world champion in goalball at the moment. And they've finished second in London at the last Paralympics, and they're the biggest favorite to win the gold medal at this Paralympics in Rio in 3 weeks. So, to give you a little impression about goalball, I have a short introduction video. Goalball is a sport for visually impaired and blind people, and it's Paralympic since 1976. Just to make sure, every player who is visually impaired or blind and additionally has blisters on their eyes or a shadow glasses, so nobody on the field can see anything. The ball contains of 2 bells, so the players can echolocate the movement of the ball. Furthermore, there are certain lines, for example this one, where players can locate where they are. So these lines are tactical lines. You can see that this is a standard volleyball course with 9 meters wide and 18 meters length, and the goal is 9 meters wide over the whole distance. It's 1.3 meters high. If you see the movements of the player, you can see 2 very important different techniques. The first one is when players rotate around themselves, like he's doing. This is what we call a rotational bowling shot or a rotational shot. And the other one was a regular shot. The 2 most important rules are the ball has to touch the ground 2 times. The first time before this line and the second time before this line. If this is not going to happen, like in this bowl, because the ball touches the ground a little bit after this line, a personal penalty is conducted. So the player has to defend the goal alone. Of course, this is a huge scoring opportunity for the opponent. I think because this is a highlight video, that we see a goal in a 3 versus 3 playing situation, which is not so often. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's even possible to score on a 3 versus 3 situation. The last scene, it's a defendable penalty shot. You hear, maybe you can listen to the crowd. The crowd is cheering up, but during the game, the crowd has to be completely silent. You have to imagine, these are videos from London, and there are 5,000 visitors in this building, and everybody is silent. That's even if they want to cheer for their team, it's a disadvantage because the players can't listen to the ball, so it's a little bit strange. Okay, I want to talk about the effect of rule changes because there were in 2014 major rule changes, but before I can figure out what these rule changes have for impacts, I have to discover the structure of goalball, and therefore we developed some specific software tools. The first one for data collection, of course, then a different tool for the analysis of the data, and the third one, a ball detection tool. A short look to each tool. We collect certain game characteristics for the offense and for the defense part, besides general game items and the outcomes of a bowl and something like that. What's very interesting is that we use the informatic methods of the homeography to generate positional data, so we can also say that from where to where the bowls were shot. This is very important for the coaches and for the players. We work together with the German national teams, and to be a little bit proud of that, the German men's national team qualified for Rio for the first time since 2000. And we hope that the German national team had the huge advantage using our software systems in 3 weeks, and maybe we are going to beat Brazil if we are a little bit lucky. But you can see that the German coach is using a tablet PC and he's connected to the scouter, so he got the analysis in real time. Basically, it's a database video connection which visualizes the collected data by the scout. The third tool is a ball tracking tool, where we, for the first time in goalball, we can collect the ball speed, or at least we try to figure out what's the ball speed about. Therefore, we are using color and match shaping, and basically we identify the ball in this neutral area where there are no players, no spectators, so we have a clear vision on the court, and it's very easy to detect the blue ball on the yellow surface. Okay. So what is the general structure of goalball? The first thing we do is we compare man goalball structure to women goalball structure, and what is surprising is that if we have a look to the number of balls per game in men and women games, it's nearly the same. Even the ball speed average in men games is higher than in women games. They shot the same number of balls per game. That was one very interesting result for us and for the coaches, because it seems for the audience that a male game is always, there's more action like in the women game, but the total number of shots is the same. We figured out differences in the number of goals per game and penalties per game, and we figured out that certain techniques, as I mentioned, the rotational bowling technique is used quite often in men games instead of women games. So the men are playing different kind of techniques than the women are doing. The next step was we had a look, if you play a rotational bowling, are you more successful instead of playing a regular shot? So we compared the only outcome which is really important for performance analysis in goalball are the goals. So we compared if you play a rotational shot or not, do you score significant more goals than playing a regular shot? In man games, we couldn't find out a statistically significant result, but in women. So that means if women play the rotational shot, they score more goals. Even men who are playing it in the percentage more often, they don't show this result. Also interesting, what's another special technique is that the ball jumps over the ground just 2 times before he hits the defense. And if women play this kind of shot, what we call jump ball, they also score significant more goals. There are not so many women, so at least I can say this. If the women use the rotational bowling in goalball, the ball goes significantly more often to the outside and not to the goal. Okay? I have no explanation for this, but that's a result I found. Another interesting analysis was a sector analysis. Basically, we found out, you can see this player is orientated at this spot because there's a mark on the ground where he knows where he is. At these sectors, where the players can feel where they are on the court, the chance to score a goal is significantly low. And in these areas where 2 players defend one sector, for example sector 3, the chance to score a goal is significantly high. That's a result we found in women and men goalball. A third result from the ball speed data, it's pretty simple. If you are able to reach top speeds, the scoring, the success rate of a shot increases in women, and it's of course the same in men. So bottom line is, if you try to bowl faster, the chance to score a goal is higher. Now, let's come to the rule changes which were significant in 2014. The first one is, there was an elimination of the 3-ball violation. Before 2014, the players weren't allowed to bowl 3 or more times in a row. So after 2 shots, they have to pass the ball. And the second one, there was a change of the 10-second rule. That means now, after 2014, the 10-second shot clock starts when the ball crosses the center line, and it has to cross the center line again before 10 seconds expires. So we didn't expect major impacts on the techniques because the techniques are not influenced by this, but we can see that in women, the number of bowls per game increases significantly, and we don't have any significant changes in number of bowls per games or number of goals or penalties per games, either in men or women games. So our conclusion about the rule changes made by IPSA were that they were done very wisely. So the major structure was not destroyed by the rule changes. What we also figure out, but this is a little bit tricky to prove, is that the player load changed, so the players become more specialized on offense and defense. Before 2014, the players had to pass the ball at least every second time or every third shot, and now there are players who are doing like 45, 50 shots per game. Instead, there are other players who are not even taking part in the offensive action, so they're just specialized on defense, and that's another. But this depends also on the team strategy and whose player is playing and what the coach's tactics is about. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions.
Do you have questions?
Hi, Christopher. You saw your data acquisition.
Yes.
You use your own cameras to record the game, or you use the TV cameras?
Actually, we are using 2 cameras. The first one is connected to the computer, so we got the live video feed inside the computer. But this is a very low quality. But we can collect all the game data on the real video, so we have it in real time. And then we change the video files to have better video quality for the analysis, for the coaches, and for the players. But we are using a live camera to the computer to get the live picture, and because we are also doing the homeography, so we can point, the process is we just simply point on the position on the court where the player starts the throw and where the throw ends, and then the computer software calculates the positions.
Okay, thank you.
In your study, you got strategies to go better in this game? In your study, you get strategy that may make a team go better in a game like this?
No,
No?
I didn't understand it really good. So what's the question?
The point is that in almost all collective games, you have strategies that make it easier or more difficult to win the game. In your studies analyzing the data, have you found some possibilities of defining a strategy that could give more chance for one of the team?
Yeah.
Get a better
The
result?
strategy is very depending on who's playing against who, but on the data, that's very hard. Goalball is a very one-dimensional sport. It's not like in soccer. In soccer, you have 1 goal per game, for example, but you can quantify how many chances team A has or team B has. In goalball, every team has like 90 shots on a game, and there is no developing process of creating a chance. Even if they pass the ball, the chance is still there. So what we found out is basically 2 things are important: the ball speed, and if the ball bounces, if the ball hits the defender or not. And to be honest, it's actually very lucky if the ball goes in or not. That's really hard to say. Another example for this: the Paralympic champion of the women's from London 2000, they defended 600 shots and they just received 2 goals in the whole Paralympic tournament. So it's like if you're playing a soccer penalty shootout and they're shooting 600 times and you defend 589 shots.
But
So-
they are a team of 3 each of them. Suppose that in the team there is one that's not as good as the others, and the adversary can perceive that, the players, I mean, because they
Yeah,
don't see.
you try to figure out the bad players, but this study was basically done on the Olympic level. Of course, you figure out these players are not as good as the other one, but it's still very hard to score a goal. That's the main problem. So even if I'm not a good goalball player, try to score against a women's team, and even if I could see and they are blinded, I have no chance to score a goal. Because also the ball is very heavy. The ball is 1.25 kilograms heavy. It's nearly twice as heavy as a basketball. So the ball loses a lot of energy when he touches the ground. So it's very hard to score a goal, and that's one of the main problems of goalball. And that's also why the IPSA, the World Federation, thinks about rule changes to make the sport more attractive.
Okay. Do you have other questions? No questions. Thank you very much.
So thank you, everyone. Now we finish our computer vision and artificial intelligence in sports. Now we'll have a break for lunch. So remember to take your voucher for lunch. It's in the first floor here in the building. So we have about 1 hour and a half to have a lunch and talk. So relaxing and enjoy the lunch. See you at 2 o'clock here. Thank you very much.